the bout, WBOY-TV will present a half-hour feature, Tommy Thomas, the Friendly Fighter. A look into the life of the local boxer examines how Thomas got started in his career, where he hopes to go, and who helped him along the way. Watch Tommy Thomas, the Friendly Fighter, followed by his state heavyweight title defense, Sunday at 2 on TV 12. What is it like to be a heavyweight fighter? How does its body withstand the hours of running and jumping and punching? What keeps him fighting when he's tired and hot and every muscle is screaming, "I can't do it anymore"? We hope to find answers to some of these questions when we look into the life of Tommy Thomas, a friendly fighter. Clarksburg heavyweight boxer Tommy Thomas is the proverbial nice guy. Most of his ring opponents would never attest to that, only because, like most successful athletes, Tommy has learned to shed the nice guy image when he puts on his boxing gloves and steps into the ring. If being a friendly fighter sounds like it would present a major personality conflict, you're right. However, Tommy seems quite comfortable with the dual roles, and both are extremely important to him. He knows what it takes to be a good fighter and is determined to achieve the goals he has established for himself. But when his gloves are put away and it's time to relax, Tommy wants to be known as a gentle person. His family and friends say that's exactly what he is. Tommy is 25 years old. He grew up in the Summit Park section of Clarksburg and was considered to be a typical, sometimes mischievous young boy. He still is very close with some of his boyhood companions and could sit and talk for hours about their adventures and misadventures. Summit Park Grade School is where Tommy received his first real exposure to sports. At that time, his teachers described him as a well-mannered student who did better than average work. And his coaches said he was by no means an outstanding athlete, but certainly had a great deal of potential. In those days, sports were a big part of Tommy's life, and boxing was about to come on the scene.
I think making the football team was more important to me than anything back then, and playing football.
Did you get along well with your classmates and do things with them in school as well as outside of school?
Yeah, we were real close when I went to school. As a matter of fact, we still have some of the same friends, and we're still close.
A lot of people think of fighters as somebody that grew up as a brawler in the streets. You weren't really a tough guy, were you?
No, I don't think I ever picked a fight or anything. I had a few scraps when I was growing up, but most of them were always somebody would start them first. I don't think I was ever a bully or a brawler.
Did any of your friends or did the adults in the neighborhood ever think of you as a tough guy or somebody that was rough with the other kids or younger kids?
Well, when I grew up, I was just about as average as a 10 or 11-year-old boy could be, and I think I was kind of I was an ornery boy, and I spent a lot of time running around in Summit Park, but I don't think we were ever that really bad.
How did boxing actually enter your life?
Well, I'd always wanted to be a fighter and admired fighters and wanted to learn how to box and fight, but I think the first real taste of boxing I got was when Coach Devano at Summit Park made us box in gym class, and we were all kind of afraid of the gloves to put them on. But then I think that was the first.
Did boxing at that time really mean anything to you?
No, not really. I wanted to learn real bad, but back then we were all kind of scared. We'd just close our eyes and swing for 3 or 4 times, and that was all we knew about boxing.
When Tommy left Summit Park Junior High School, boxing was only an exercise in gym class, but the seed had been planted. The seed remained exactly that through Tommy's 3 years at Victory High School. At Victory, Tommy played football for the late John Mazie. He was a lineman of average ability, and he never received any special recognition for his achievements on the field. Coach Maisie had a profound influence on Tommy's life, and to this day, Tommy credits Maisie with instilling in him the perseverance and drive needed to become a good athlete. Despite not having set the football world afire during his high school years, a couple of West Virginia Conference coaches offered Tommy a chance to play football in college because they were impressed with his size and build. Tommy wasn't ready for that, though, and because his family needed money, he decided to get a job. When an opening came up at the Union Carbide plant in Anmore, Tommy jumped at the opportunity. He was 19 years old, he was happy, and he was making good money. The job at Union Carbide came to be a turning point in his life. The associations he established there ultimately watered the boxing seed which had been planted several years earlier. And soon, Tommy had not only a full-time job, but also a full-time vocation. He wanted to become a fighter. At that time, there were no thoughts of becoming a professional fighter, but Tommy had seen and heard a lot about the fight game and was convinced he would give it a try. He trained long and hard and learned as much about boxing as he could. But then, when a pair of amateur bouts he was scheduled to appear in at Weston fell through, Tommy became discouraged and was ready to give it up. He had never set foot in a ring and now was uncertain if that was what he really wanted to do. A pair of older co-workers, Jim Mino and Husky Matheny, who had done some boxing in their earlier days, recognized Tommy's potential and convinced him to stick with it. Finally, another call came from a boxing promoter in Weston. Tommy was reluctant to accept because he was certain that once again his opponent would fail to show up. Mino and Matheny pleaded with Tommy to go, and Tommy finally said yes. It was Tommy's first official fight, and his opponent did not fail to show up. However, he might as well had. The bout was over after 1 minute and 13 seconds of the first round. Tommy Thomas had recorded his first knockout. Of course, his old buddies, like Jim Mino, were pleased as could be.
The time we first started was a little green, but he come along fast, and as a person, he's a real gentleman.
Did you try to keep him involved in boxing at an early stage?
I told him to train hard, run. The best part of the game is legs and fast hands.
What kind of specific boxing skills did you work on with him?
Well, the left hook to the body and the one to the head, because I told him, I said, you ever see Joe Frazier fight? I said, well, on that left hook from the body to the head from head. It seemed like he's doing it now, and I'm proud of it.
Through his first couple of fights, I know you watched him closely, you tried to help him. What were some of the things that he needed to learn at that age?
To raise his left hand, he came in with his hand low. And me and Husky Matheny got together, told him, said, keep that up high, because that's a place where the guy will try to hit you. So he raised it up like that. And the first fight he fought, he had me kind of worried. So this fellow was a good boxer, but I heard he couldn't take a punch, so we told Tommy, don't put on the show, get rid of him quick. In about 3 minutes, it was all over. A beautiful punch.
Tommy admits today that he was almost reluctant back in the early days of his amateur career to get in the ring. And yet you and Husky Matheny kind of kept him going. What did you have to do to kind of push him on?
Well, we had to tell him, he says, we told him he was too timid, too easy going. I said, when you're outside, it's all right, but when you're in the ring, that man is to get you, you better get him. And you just forget about friends when you're in the ring. There's no friends in the ring. You got to get him quick.
Would you have ever thought at the beginning of Tommy's amateur career that he would get quite as far as he has today?
Well, I seen him several fights, and I seen him improving right along. He just kept coming along good, and he kept a little more speed and stayed in on the guy, not to stay away from him, get in close to him, and use the body punches and to the jaw. Left hook to the jaw is his main punch, I think.
At this point, then, you're not really surprised at the success he's had?
Not a bit, not a bit. Proud of him. In fact, I'm proud of him. Not a bit surprised. He stays in good shape. That's the main thing.
Ted Hamilton Hamilton, a veteran fighter who operated a small boxing club in Fairmont, saw Tommy win his first fight. Hamilton recognized the raw, untapped ability the aspiring young fighter possessed, and a short time later convinced Tommy to come to his club and continue his training. Hamilton taught Tommy the fine points of boxing and teamed him up with trainer Tony Abruzzino, who to this day is in Tommy's corner for every fight. For 4 years and 52 amateur bouts, Tommy worked under their watchful eyes. He had come a long way since that first night in Weston. Holding down a full-time job and driving daily to Fairmont to train kept Tommy moving at a grueling pace during the early days of his career. His fellow employees at Union Carbide were very supportive, and that made life a little easier for Tommy. They chipped in money to help buy Tommy equipment. They traded shifts with Tommy so that he would have plenty of time to work out. And of course, Tommy could count on having his private band of rooters nearby whenever he stepped into the ring.
The guys at the factory where I worked and plus the company were real good to me. I don't think if I had worked anywhere else and didn't have the support, I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have fought. I couldn't have trained or anything.
Did they ever have to cover for you when you came in early one morning, tired from a fight the night before?
Yes, many times I'd go to work and I would be so wore out and exhausted, and they would cover for me. They would help me do my work, and a lot of times do my work for me, and never complain or say anything about it, and were 100% behind me.
How difficult was it to work a full shift during the day and then know you had to go home and train the rest of the day?
It was very difficult. Not only was it difficult physically, but mentally, because I never got had time to think and collect my thoughts. I was just on the go all the time, and physically I was exhausted. It was very tough.
Did you ever get to the point where you just said, I quit, I give it up, I'm never putting on the gloves again?
Several times I thought about quitting, and yeah, several times I thought about it.
What made you stick with it?
Well, when I became a fighter, a little bit at a time, I decided that I wanted to better myself and go up the ladder, and I wanted to do something in boxing. And there hadn't been a fighter in Clarksburg for a long time, and I think this, plus the support of the men and that I worked with, and all of my friends and my family, kept me going.
Everything began to fall together for Tommy in the winter of 1977. He won the West Virginia and Pennsylvania Golden Gloves heavyweight titles and also captured the West Virginia Silver Gloves crown. He was invited to participate in the National Golden Gloves Championship, and for that, Tommy traveled to Honolulu, Hawaii. The trip west would also become a major turning point in Tommy's career. He finished a respectable third. While competing in the Hawaii tournament, Tommy was approached by a pair of gentlemen who inquired if he'd be willing to turn professional. As it happened so many times previously, Tommy again was faced with a difficult decision. Tommy had considered turning pro, but he knew if he did, he would have to give up his job at Union Carbide and be away from his family for long periods of time, something he wasn't accustomed to. Keeping in mind the offer that had been made to him in Hawaii, Tommy returned to Clarksburg to continue his training and think things over. Within 9 months, he had made up his mind, and in September of 1977, Tommy Thomas decided to give up his amateur status and fight professionally. At first, Tommy continued to hold down a job and train as he had done as an amateur. He fought in Fairmont, Pittsburgh, and Tennessee, but he needed some direction and someone to help him reach the goals he established for himself. He remembered the gentlemen he had met in Hawaii. They knew the fight game and might be able to provide the answers he was looking for. They apparently had the right answers, and Tommy chose to make a total commitment to boxing. Late in 1977, the 23-year-old Tommy signed a 5-year contract with his present-day co-managers Jim Lennon and Norm Lockwood. Soon after signing the contract, Tommy packed his gear and headed for California to train. He was there only a short while when his managers received a call from a fight promoter in Anchorage, Alaska. The promoter needed a heavyweight to headline some boxing cards he was putting together, and Tommy's managers thought it would be an excellent opportunity for him to start working his way up the ladder. Well, Anchorage, Alaska is a long way from Clarksburg, but Tommy, still thinking of his close family ties, knew he had to make a start somewhere. Anyway, he knew his family would be behind him. They had been since the day he announced he was turning pro.
Well, Gary, a lot of things went through my mind. Is he going to be happy doing this? Is he giving up a job that he couldn't get back? Is he really going to make it? You never know what's going to happen. And him leaving home and going away, that was going to be hard on the family and him because Tommy's never been away from home.
Did he consult with you before making the decision to move away to Alaska?
Yes, he consulted with me and his brother and his sisters, the whole family, and we told him to do what he felt was right and what he really wanted to do. He had to make the decision.
The entire family watched Tommy fight a lot during his amateur career. What kind of thoughts went through your head when you knew he was thousands of miles away and had a difficult fight that night?
Well, I worried about him getting hurt most of all and winning. I wanted him to win. I wanted him to go clear to the top because Tommy's dedicated to this. No one knows. I know because I've watched him train.
Anchorage didn't turn out to be so bad after all. Tommy discovered that not all Alaskans lived in igloos, and in fact the city was very similar to Clarksburg, only a little larger. He won his first few fights, on one occasion defeating 2 opponents on the same night. And the people started taking to the likable fighter from West Virginia. All of a sudden, being thousands of miles from home wasn't so bad, and the natives even started to pick up on his nickname, Franco. The name Franco came about during Tommy's amateur career. He grew a beard that made him look strikingly similar to Pittsburgh Steeler running back Franco Harris. His friends started to call him Franco, and it caught on. And the cheers for Franco echoed through the Anchorage Civic Arena whenever he climbed into the ring.
Yeah, I was surprised at first because the first night I fought there, I'd only been there about a week, and when I fought the 2 local hometown boys on the same night, I was real surprised that at first they booed me when I came out and threw stuff at me, and then as the fight went on, they took to me. And
Well, what do you think actually changed them? What caused this sense of loyalty to you?
well, I got cut in the fight, and required about 14 stitches to close the cut over my eye, and I just kept fighting, and I think it was I was just came to fight, and I gave them a good fight, and they'd had so many bad promotions there where people came in and tried to promote a fight and make a couple fast bucks and get out, and I think that's what impressed them because we were honest.
Was it tough during the time you were in Alaska, preparing yourself physically and mentally for a fight, knowing that you were a long way from your family and close friends?
Yes, it was tough because every day I would wonder what my family was doing and what was going on in Clarksburg, West Virginia, and I was all alone. I didn't have my mother to cook for me or, my friends I could stop by in the evening and say hello, what's going on, and I was all alone.
At this point, looking back, are you glad you went to Alaska?
Well, yes, it made me a better fighter, and it was good for me because it forced me to train hard. It was sink or swim, and I swam.
Before long, Tommy was fighting for the Alaska heavyweight title. He captured the crown by knocking out his opponent in the 9th round of their 12-round bout. His pro record was 9-0. He had made his way through the ranks in Alaska, and now his managers had to look for competition elsewhere. Tommy continued to train in Alaska, but he began traveling to California, Washington, and Nevada for his fights. The busy travel schedule and rigorous training, his fights were getting tougher, so that meant harder work, started to make Tommy homesick. He wondered why he couldn't live and train in Clarksburg and have his managers book his fights from there. His managers agreed, and just about a year after he had left for the West Coast to set out on his dream, Tommy was back home. Mom's cooking, a warm bed, and close friends were a welcome sight to Tommy. Those long workouts with the heavy bag and early morning runs didn't seem as difficult anymore. One of of Tommy's biggest fans is his older brother, Jerry. Jerry can stand at ringside and watch his brother fight and walk away more physically drained than Tommy. One day, Jerry sat down with Tommy and the two started thinking, why not let the hometown folks see firsthand what Tommy had learned as a professional? After all, even though he had lived and trained in Clarksburg for many years, it had been over 4 years since he had fought there. Tommy's managers were somewhat skeptical about whether such an event could be staged properly and successfully, and they wondered if there was enough support in the area to make it a break-even proposition. When they finally consented to go along with the idea, Jerry Thomas secured a promoter's license and lined up an opponent from North Carolina. On May 16, 1979, Tommy would meet North Carolina heavyweight champion Al Thunderbird in a 10-round main event at the Nathan Goff Armory in Clarksburg. It was the opportunity of a lifetime for Tommy.
Every night when I was in Alaska and I was so far away from home and I was training hard and I'd go to bed, I would say, gee, I wish I was training for a fight in my hometown instead of training to fight at the sports arena in Alaska. And for me to be able to come here and fight in front of all of my hometown fans and all my friends, it meant a lot to me because I could show them all of my hard work and all of my preparation that I put into the fight game. I could show them.
Were you surprised by the response from the area people to the Al Bird fight?
I had no idea when I was in the dressing room the night of the fight that we had that big of a crowd out there. Somebody had come in and said, gee, you know, they're really coming in. And then when I came out, it took my breath away. I just couldn't believe it. Everywhere I looked, there was somebody I knew, you know, or had worked with and knew in some way. And it was unbelievable.
Tommy was awarded a unanimous decision victory over Bird and hadn't disappointed the standing room-only crowd which had packed the Armory to see the fight. 1 month later, the State Boxing Commission ruled that Tommy should be awarded the West Virginia heavyweight title. Indeed, he had come a long way since that first night in Weston.
Well, it meant a lot to me. I wanted to be the champion ever since I was boxing around here in the state, and I want to be the champion in West Virginia, and it means a lot to me for future fights and promotion and advancing up the ladder in the heavyweight ranks.
When you go up against Lou Rogan in the state heavyweight championship, you'll be defending the title for the first time. Is defending it successfully just as important to you as winning it the first time was?
Well, I feel it's going to be more important to me to win this fight out here August 3rd and win it decisively. And I feel it's going to mean a lot more in my career. I have to win, and I have to keep winning, and Lou Rogan is just a step up the ladder.
Obviously, Lou Rogan is going to present different problems than Al Bird did. He's a little bit different kind of fighter. So how do you plan differently? What things in the ring will you do differently against Lou Rogan?
Well, I don't want to give away all my fight plans, but I plan to fight a harder fight and to be a more relaxed and sharper fighter than I was with Al Bird. I'd only been back in Clarksburg a week and a half for the fight, and I was a little bit too excited, and I think I'm just going to try and be more settled. I don't want to give my fight strategy away until fight night.
Do you think you trained harder for this fight?
I trained a lot harder. I think I'm in the best shape of my life, and I'm getting stronger and I'm getting older. I feel I trained a lot harder too.
All the training, the running, the jumping, the pounding, the punching is a lot of punishment on your body. What makes you want to keep it up?
Well, I have hopes of being the champion of the world, and people look up to me and are following me, and I want to be a success. I want to be a success story. I don't want people to say, well, whatever happened to Tommy Thomas? He was a good fighter, and why did he quit? I want to know when I quit fighting that I couldn't go any farther than I could, and I did as best I possibly could.
On Friday night, August 3rd, Tommy Franco Thomas, the West Virginia heavyweight champion, will defend his crown against the previous holder of the title, Lou Rogan of Columbus, Ohio. Tommy says he'll be more comfortable this time. He knows better what to expect. Jokingly, during a training session, he says, "I'm not going to let that guy take away my trophy." Deep down inside, the title means more to Tommy than just a trophy. It represents the years of training he has put in and serves as a reminder of all the support he has received from his family, his friends, and his former co-workers. Yes, there's a lot more at stake than just a trophy. And when Tommy Thomas, the friendly fighter from Clarksburg, steps into the ring against Lou Rogan, don't expect to see no Mr. Nice Guy. In a moment, we'll be at ringside for coverage of the Tommy Thomas, Lou Rogan, West Virginia Heavyweight Championship fight. May 16th, 1979, Clarksburg's Tommy Thomas outslugged North Carolina heavyweight champion Al Thunderbird and records a unanimous decision victory at the Nathan Goff Armory. It was Thomas's first fight in front of a hometown crowd in nearly 4 years, and the win improved his professional record to 14-2. 1 month later, the West Virginia Boxing Commission awarded Thomas the state heavyweight title, stripping it from Lou Rogan of Columbus, Ohio. Rogan gained the crown in 1973, but according to state boxing rules, had not successfully defended the title in an allotted amount of time. Tonight, at the Nathan Goff Armory in Clarksburg, any question of who should actually hold the state title will be settled for good when Tommy Thomas and Lou Rogan meet in an officially sanctioned state heavyweight championship bout. This WBOI TV exclusive is brought to you by Weather Service Incorporated, home of famous Bryant energy-efficient heating and cooling systems. West Virginia Welding, with the largest inventory of air-coat gases, welding, and cutting equipment. And by Water World Systems, home of Kinetico, the water conditioner that runs itself.
Game, don't get caught in the clinches. In the savings game, make with some fancy footwork and head for the big saving.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Nathan Goff Armory. We have another packed house on hand this evening for a heavyweight title fight between Tommy Franco Thomas of Clarksburg and Lou Rogan, the former heavyweight title holder of Columbus, Ohio. Of course, Tommy, the current holder of the state heavyweight title, having won it shortly after his unanimous decision victory over Al Bird on May 16th right here at the Nathan Goff Armory. Both fighters apparently in good shape for tonight's bout. Tommy trained quite heavily since his last fight to get ready for this one, which is an important one to him, and he wants to hold on to that title. Lou Rogan a bit upset and disturbed that he lost the title. He wasn't really contacted when the State Boxing Commission made its decision that they were going to strip the title from him and give it to Tommy. The State Commission deciding or determining that Lou Rogan had not successfully defended the crown in an allotted amount of time. Our feature event, the main event, the state heavyweight title bout, coming up in just a few moments, and we'll be back to tell you a little bit more about the fighters and tonight's big fight right after this. Welcome back to the Nathan Goff Armory, a packed crowd on hand for tonight's state heavyweight title fight between Tommy Thomas and Lou Rogan. Gary Bowden with you at ringside, and we're just moments away from the feature event of the evening. A little bit earlier tonight, we got a chance to visit the locker rooms of both Tommy Thomas and Lou Rogan, get their ideas about tonight's fight, and we're going to hear now what Tommy Thomas was thinking and what kind of training he did in preparation for his first state heavyweight title defense. Okay, Tommy, got a pretty good crowd on hand again tonight. How do you feel about the fight?
Well, I feel real good about the fight. I know I'm in great shape. I trained very hard for this fight, and I'm just glad to be home and glad to be fighting here in Clarksburg.
Do you think you are in better shape now than you were for the Al Bird fight a couple months ago?
Yes, I'll have to be in better shape because I've trained longer, and harder. Had more time and, like I say, worked harder. I definitely have to be in better shape.
You know a few things about your opponent, Lou Rogan. What are you going to have to go in the ring and do tonight in order to win and hold on to your state title?
Well, I don't know as to how I'm going to fight him. I won't run from him, I know that, and I'm going to be my same aggressive type fighter, I suppose.
He said that he's anxious to get that title back, and I know you're probably just as anxious to hold on to it, aren't you?
Yes, I'm very anxious to hold on to it. I want to keep this title, and I've got a lot of big plans for the future, and I don't want to let Lou Rogan take this trophy out of Clarksburg.
Okay, as you just heard, Tommy Thomas mentioning that he has trained quite heavily for this bout, and he got a little more time to train for this one than he did his last bout in May, and of course looking forward to the opportunity to fight again here before the Clarksburg crowd. We also got a chance to speak with Lou Rogan earlier tonight. Of course, he had the crown stripped from him just about a month ago, and he said that he was a bit disturbed by the action of the State Boxing Commission. Lou, after the Tommy Thomas-Al Byrd fight, the State Boxing Commission took the title away from you, the state heavyweight title, and gave it to Tommy. It's a title you've held for about 3 years. Were you kind of surprised by the commission's action?
I was surprised in a way that they didn't notify me when they took it. I knew that I wasn't defending it like I should have, but then again, I didn't know where I stood with the commission here. And when they took it without notification from them to me was what surprise come in.
You were upset then that they took away the title?
Upset, yeah, I was quite upset, as a matter of fact, quite upset.
What kind of training have you done for this fight tonight?
Well, I've put in some extensive road work, and I've went numerous rounds with my trainer, Ron Bosley. I'm ready.
In your last fight in April over in Fairmont, you lost a split decision. You said you weren't really well prepared for that fight. Are you in better shape this time?
I'm far better shape. They called me one day and I fought the next. And I wasn't in any kind of condition at all for that fight.
What kinds of things will you have to do in the ring tonight to beat Tommy Thomas?
Tommy Thomas is a slugger. I am too. I think I'll just have to beat him to the punch. Is what it all amounts to.
Tommy Thomas is a fighter as a career. You have a career as a policeman and you have to fight on the side. But is boxing still a very important part of your life?
Oh, very important. Very important to me because I like boxing. It keeps me in shape and I like doing it.
You've got a few years on Tommy. You've been doing it for quite some time now. How long do you plan to continue your fighting?
As long as I can stand up, as long as God gives me the power to go.
Gary Bowden back at ringside. Of course, you just heard the remarks from Lou Rogan, who had the state heavyweight title stripped from him and said he's anxious to try to win it back here tonight. Logan capturing that heavyweight crown just about 3 years ago in a fight here in West Virginia. And he's hoping that in this bout tonight, he'll be able to regain the crown. He mentioned that he was a bit surprised and even disturbed that Tackett of the West Virginia Boxing Commission, who by the way is here tonight, did not contact him and let him know that the crown was going to be taken away. He felt like the commission maybe should have informed him ahead of time that they planned to strip the title from him and at least give him an opportunity to successfully defend it before they took it away. But anyway, he will get an opportunity here tonight to show whether or not he really deserves it. And there you see now Lou Rogan coming into the ring, hands on the shoulders of his manager and sparring partner, Ron Bosley, and Lou Rogan trailed by his wife. You can see her just behind Rogan. Rogan, a native of Columbus, Ohio. He's a policeman. He's not actually a native. He's from Columbus, Ohio. And he's a policeman in that city. Said he's worked pretty hard to get ready for this fight. He's a native of West Virginia. And he's done almost all of his fighting here in West Virginia. His record coming into tonight's bout, 19 wins and 17 losses. He said 14 knockouts. Lou Rogan, 30 years old, and he's about 6 foot 200 pounds, and he'll match up pretty evenly with Tommy Thomas. Lou Rogan fought in the area not too long ago. He fought in Fairmont and lost a split decision, and he was a little upset by that. And I think he mentioned in his comments just moments ago that he didn't really get an opportunity to train properly for that fight. He was only notified about the bout a day or two before, and then had to come all the way up to Fairmont from Columbus, Ohio. So he didn't get an opportunity to actually get set and get his body prepared and get mentally prepared for his opponent. He said he's in much better shape this time. He said he's done a lot of road work. He's been sparring with his manager, Ron Bosley, and that he feels like he'll be much more prepared to take on this opponent than he was when he fought last. Lou Rogan averaging maybe 5 or 6 bouts a year. And of course, holding down a full-time job, he doesn't have an opportunity to fight quite as often, or maybe travel the distances Tommy has to do his fighting. But Rogan mentioning that he hopes to keep boxing a part of his life and hopes to go as long as he can. He enjoys the fight game and hopes to stay in it. Lou Rogan, a real good athlete in his earlier days. He went to high school in the Ohio area and then went on to play college football at Moorhead, Kentucky. Pretty good running back in his day. And out of Moorhead, Kentucky, he was contacted by the San Diego Chargers and signed a free agent contract with them to play football. However, he never got an opportunity to play because he suffered a knee injury, and they sent him to a semi-pro team in Joliet, Illinois. He played football for a short while with the Joliet team, but never got a chance to move up, and then decided that football wasn't going to be his game, and he wasn't really going to have an opportunity to prove himself. And of course, the injury had slowed him up somewhat. So he decided to come back into the area, into the Ohio area, get himself in shape, and decided to pick up the boxing, and he's done real well. Again, a 19-7-0 record, 14 of those by knockout. The crowd getting a little bit anxious now, and it looks like any moment the current West Virginia heavyweight champion, Tommy Thomas of Clarksburg, will be entering the ring. Again, for this fight, as was the case in the May 16th bout against Al Bird, Jerry Thomas, the promoter for this bout. Tommy Thomas, too, has trained very hard for this bout. And now the cheers go up as Tommy Thomas gets ready to enter the ring. The theme of Rocky in the background, everybody standing. As we mentioned, a full house at the Nathan Goff Armory in Clarksburg. A capacity crowd standing and cheering as Tommy comes in the ring. There you can just about see him now, flanked by his manager, Norm Lockwood. Tommy getting a good round of applause from this partisan hometown crowd. Tommy, of course, with a professional record of 14-2-0. You can see the state heavyweight trophy there as they come into the ring. Tommy Thomas, 25 years old, a good 5 years younger than his opponent tonight. And Tommy, again, anxious to put on a show here for his hometown fans. Tommy said it meant a lot to him, the support he got last time from the Clarksburg area people, and of course he knew that there were people that came from as far away as Buchanan and Fairmont and Morgantown to watch him fight, and he really appreciated it. And of course, he said that he's just as anxious to hang on to that title and take it back home with him again tonight. Possibly a few more people than last time at this bout, if that's possible. The May 16th fight against Al Bird was a packed house too, and it looks like it's just as crowded tonight or even more. The referee for this bout is going to be Romeo Kasai, and you can see him in the middle of the ring there now, talking to the fighters, and both boxers getting ready to put their gloves on. There's a good close shot of Tommy. And the introductions now, the two fighters from public address announcer Chuck Riddlebarger. The announcement being made now for Lou Rogan. Rogan, 6 foot, 200 pounds, weighing in at 200 pounds even for tonight's fight. And the introduction for Tommy Thomas. Tommy, the same height, about 6 foot, but will weigh in just a little bit heavier, around 205 pounds. Tommy with his manager Norm Lockwood. You can see him tying the laces on those gloves, and in the yellow shirt just to Norm Lockwood's right, Tony Abrazino. And Tommy being worked on there by one of his former trainers and managers during his amateur career, Ted Hamilton. Ted Hamilton, of course, runs a boxing club in Fairmont and has worked with so many of the young boys in the area and helped them with their fighting. Of course, Ted Hamilton, a former fighter himself, as was Tony Abrazino, Tommy's trainer. A shot there of Ron Bosley putting on the gloves of Lou Rogan.
So it should be a very interesting West Virginia State heavyweight bout fight tonight at the David Delmar Ring.
Tommy been running every day. He's been doing some sparring. Went up to Uniontown, Pennsylvania, and did some sparring, and then worked out several days during the past week at Fairmont, doing his shadow boxing and getting himself physically fit for this fight. On the Al Bird fight, Tommy had only been in the Clarksburg area approximately 12 days. He had flown in from Seattle where his last bout had occurred, and he said he really didn't get as much time to prepare as he had hoped. And he also said the size of the crowd had a big impact on him, and he was excited, he was nervous. It was his first chance in 4 years to fight in front of his friends and family in Clarksburg, and he said this time he thinks he'll be a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more at ease. Maybe not so many butterflies this time around. He knows a little bit more of what to expect. He figured that again tonight he would have the full house crowd, so he was anxious to again get an opportunity to fight here in Clarksburg. And he's mentioned, as has his brother Jerry, who has helped promote these two bouts in Clarksburg, that this might be the last opportunity for Tommy to fight in the area. He's made arrangements for a bout in Seattle. It's very likely that in the not too distant future he'll be going back up to Anchorage, Alaska to defend his Alaska state heavyweight title. So he's hoping to make his performance here tonight a good one, and of course leave some memories for his family and friends here in the Clarksburg area. Got ready to get underway. We mentioned the physical stature of both fighters, very similar. Tommy maybe a little bit bigger around the waist and chest, but Lou Rogan definitely a very muscular fighter, and he considers himself to be a slugger, much the same as Tommy. Rogan, the big chest muscles and arm muscles, and said he likes to get in there and slug it out. And of course Tommy, if you've seen him fight before, is very similar. Tommy, the brawler, the slugger, and just keeps coming at you. And of course Lou Rogan is expecting it. Tommy hopes to be able to meet him toe-to-toe. Should be an interesting contest because two fighters very similar in size and weight, and also very similar in the way they fight. The seconds in both corners getting final preparations made now, and Romeo Kasai, the referee for this fight, calls the two boxers to the center of the ring, and they'll go over the instructions for the fight. Again, Romeo Kasai will be the referee for the bout. The officials are Tony Vecchio, Husky Matheny, and Slakavich. And the scoring will be done on the 10-point system. Our timekeeper is Tony Eaton, and we're just about ready to get underway. A 12-round bout for the West Virginia Heavyweight Championship. Tommy Thomas having gained that title only a month ago after it was taken away from Lou Rogan. And of course, tonight's fight will settle any question of who the actual owner of that title should be. Right now, Tommy has it, and he feels like his room is right where it should be. Lou Rogan feels differently. He feels like he maybe should have had an opportunity to successfully defend it before they took it away, although he realized that he hadn't made any overtures to try to go out and defend it. Norm Lockwood noticing something with the taping on the glove of Lou Rogan, and that's what the delay is. And apparently they got to straighten out now. I think they probably cut a little piece of tape off Lou Rogan's glove, and now we're ready to go. There's the bell. Tommy coming in fast with a couple of lefts. Lou Rogan trying to size him up. A good left scores on Rogan right off the bat. Both fighters probably going to check each other out here in the early going. This is scheduled for 12 rounds. Tommy using that left and gets inside again, and a right. As Rogan covers up in the corner. And Tommy, of course, likes him up against those ropes or in the corner. That's where he likes to work. He feels like he's at more of an advantage there. Although Lou Rogan definitely will not have the speed that some of the other opponents that Tommy has fought recently have had. Rogan at this point apparently content just to stay inside and give us the famous Ali rope-a-dope, and making no effort at this point to try to come out as Tommy tries to work on that midsection, tries to get the uppercut in. Tommy keeping him pinned in that corner, working on the body now. And Rogan making no effort yet to get away. Rogan leaning up against those ropes, and he mentioned before the fight that he would try to stand with Tommy toe-to-toe, and it's a little bit difficult to tell here whether he's just trying to play with Tommy a little bit and maybe feint that he's been hurt, or whether he's just trying to use some kind of strategy and see what might develop. Tommy earlier throwing a lot of punches, now counting his punches a little bit better. Rogan tries to counter with a wild left there that sails over Tommy's head. Continues to pound him as he keeps him pinned up against those ropes. Some of those uppercuts getting in but not really scoring heavily. Rogan ducks out. And again backs into the corner. There's another wild left by Rogan, or right rather. The left just barely caught the side of Tommy's head. And Rogan again just staying by the corner, taking some of those shots to his side, but most of the punches in the middle and on the face just bouncing off Rogan's gloves at this point. Tommy not scoring heavily, though he is throwing a lot of punches. Getting near the end of round number one. Tommy the definite aggressor in this opening round. Now Logan finally comes out, dances a little bit. And we're going to be back with a second round of action in just a moment. Bowden back at ringside for this heavyweight bout between Tommy Thomas and Lou Rogan. They're a good shot of Norm Lockwood and Tony Ambrosino working on Tommy in the corner as we get ready for the start of round number two. Tommy, pretty much the winner in round number one, we'd have to say. The definite aggressor. But Rogan, the more experienced, older fighter, might have been trying to use a little strategy there. This is a 12-round bout, and he might have tried to see if he could maybe get Tommy to wear himself out a little bit. Now Rogan this time in the center of the ring, standing toe-to-toe and throwing a few more punches. Tommy's left scores to Rogan. That left jab getting in a little bit. Rogan dancing a little bit more. A couple of wild punches by Tommy. Don't really do much damage. And Rogan holding on. You can see the rope marks on Rogan's back where he leaned up against those ropes during the entire first round. Second round of action. Rogan stalking Thomas a little bit more this round. Tommy's left jab. Oh, and a good right floors Rogan. Tommy Thomas got in the left jab and a right. Sent him to the canvas. Tommy got in a good right. And Rogan looks all right, but he's a little bit dazed. That left-right combination did it, and now Rogan's going to back himself into the ropes. Tommy tries to pull him out. Tommy's back to me when he threw it. It was really hard to see where he hit him, but he hit him square. Now Tommy working on him right in front of us. Rogan trying to cover up and taking most of those punches on his arms and off the gloves. Tommy just leaning into him and pushing Rogan back into the corner. Rogan said he was in good shape for this fight, but he looks like he's a little bit winded. Rogan trying to get the left in, now dancing away. And of course we'll try to regain his composure a little bit after that knockdown here in the second round. Tommy again working on Rogan, but the shot's not doing a lot of damage. Thomas with the uppercut, but not really scoring heavily. Rogan able to absorb most of those punches. The crowd getting excited, however. Teddy Hamilton said he was going to try to get Tommy to work with that combination before the fight. He mentioned that he wanted Tommy to use that short, compact left jab and then come back with a right, and that's exactly what Tommy used to send Rogan to the campus. Two fighters just moving from one side to another, and Rogan spins free. Now Rogan becoming a little more aggressive here. Ducks away from a left and a right by Tommy Thomas. And Thomas again pushes Rogan back into the ropes. Romeo Kasai separates the fighters. And we're getting near the end of round number 2. And we'll be back with third round action after this. Back at the Nathan Goff Armory, Lou Rogan appears to be okay. His manager talking to him in the corner between rounds, and he looks to be all right, but I'm sure was somewhat dazed after that knockdown, excuse me, in the second round. Tommy coming right back at him, putting the pressure on. There's a good right by Tommy as he knocks him back into the corner and then works on that midsection of Rogan. Tommy with some good solid punches to the midsection, and Rogan trying to work his way out. There's a left by Tommy, a good left to the side of the face of Rogan. There's a left and a right, and Rogan again appears to be hurt. Rogan backing into the ropes now as Tommy continues to put the pressure on. There's a wild left by Tommy as Lou Rogan ducked under. Rogan appears to be tired, though. The referee separating the fighters. There's a good right by Tommy, again scoring. When the referee separates the fighters, Rogan just content to stay by those ropes, and apparently that's not going to do him any good because Tommy's been able to fight effectively through the first 3 rounds just that way, keeping inside and working on that midsection. And he's been able to score pretty good when they get out in the center of the ring, so that hasn't worked for Rogan either. And thus far, it's been all Tommy's fight. Now Rogan dancing a little bit more. Tommy with a lunging right that didn't connect. Rogan mentioned he did a lot of road work for this. Although at 30 years old, probably getting near the end of his career, although he'd like to continue as long as he can. But it gets tougher when you get up to that age in the fight game. That's getting old, and it's tough. Tommy again putting the pressure on as he sends Rogan to the ropes again and works him into the corner. Romeo Kasai, the referee, trying to separate the fighters. A shot there of Tommy's mother cheering Tommy on. And thus far, I'm sure that she's pretty pleased with what she sees, although you never know that by the intense look on her face. Tommy with a wild right didn't score. And Logan got in a left there. Logan has not scored heavily at all through the first 3 rounds. Rogan covering up. Tries a left jab and didn't connect. Tommy continues to come at him. A good left to the midsection of Rogan. And those will pile up toward the end of the fight. We're nearing the end of round number 3. We'll be back with more after this. There's a shot of the West Virginia Heavyweight Championship trophy, which was awarded to Tommy following his bout with Al Bird in May. Number 4, and at this point, Tommy the winner of every round on our scorecard anyway. Tommy the definite aggressor, and the fight has pretty much gone the way he would have expected at this point, or the way he wanted it to anyway. He mentioned that he would continue to go after Rogan and wasn't going to back away, and he hasn't. Tommy working Rogan into his own corner. And of course, while he's in there, instructions being barked to him by Norm Lockwood and Tony Abrazino. Rogan apparently okay. Went down in the second round, but recovered, hung on till the end of the second, and was a little bit crisper in the third round. There's a right uppercut that sounded like it got Rogan, but it was more off the glove and didn't connect solidly. Rogan doing more of the stalking now again here in the fourth round. But so far has not really been able to connect. His shot's not getting in. Tommy's right sails over the head of Rogan. There's a good left by Rogan scored. A left caught Tommy, but he didn't appear to be hurt. There's a shot of Norm Lockwood, Tommy Thomas's manager. Just flew in this morning for this fight. He's got another fighter on the West Coast that he had to work with last night. Said he got hung up in Pittsburgh overnight and had to fly in this morning and hasn't even had any rest. But he made it here in time for the fight. On left, Dokes, Lou Rogan. He went down hard. Tommy with a left out of nowhere. And Rogan went down hard, and that's going to be it. Tommy Thomas, with a left hand, has successfully defended his heavyweight championship. An excited Tommy Thomas, and Lou Rogan was just completely stunned. The left came from way back, and Rogan out cold. His manager working with him now. You could hear his head hit the mat when he fell backward. I think he's going to be okay, but he went down hard. You can see them helping Rogan to his feet, but he'll be doing no more fighting tonight. Rogan definitely hurt. Tommy Thomas, the winner here in the first defense of his West Virginia Heavyweight Championship, and Jerry Thomas's brother handing the trophy into the ring. There's a shot of Tommy's father. There's Tommy's father with the trophy. And Tommy now, like a good sportsman, is over checking to see how Lou Rogan is. Tommy concerned over the condition of his opponent. And Rogan now apparently okay. His manager in there, Tommy's managers, and Rogan's up and appears to be all right. But no match for Tommy here tonight. Rogan knocked down in the second round, but came back all right, but Rogan never really in the fight. And then Tommy, all of a sudden, about halfway through the fourth round, floored him again with a knockout punch. And of course, that raises Tommy's record now to 15-2. That's his professional record, and a good shot of him there as he's toweled off by his father and presented the trophy. A picture there of the state boxing commissioner, Alan Tackett, and a good shot there of Tommy with his trophy. Okay, we're going to be back and try to get some comments from Tommy, but first we're going to take time out for this message. Okay, Gary Bowden, back in the ring with our winner here tonight, Tommy Thomas, the West Virginia heavyweight champion. Tommy, with all his friends giving him congratulations. Tommy, the fight went pretty much the way you had hoped, I imagine.
Well, I trained hard, and I knew that I had to put pressure on him because I knew he was a couple years older than me, and I'd hoped maybe he would wear down and then I could catch him with a clean shot. I wanted to knock him out so bad. No, it's nothing personal, but I've been taunted by him for so long, and I just had to beat him. And I wanted to knock him out.
You hope then that it would be a short fight?
Yes, I wanted to win big, and by KO if I could, because he's just taunted me for so long. People mention his name. Could I beat him? Could I beat him? Why don't I fight him? Why don't I fight him? And finally, I wanted him so bad. You could see I was so anxious.
In the second round, Tommy, you knocked him down. Did you think you had him then?
Well, I didn't think I'd hit him with that good of a punch in the second round. I know I hit him flush with it, but he was backing up. So.
What about the knockout punch? What was that?
I feinted the right hand, and I threw a left hook. I feinted the right hand like I was going to throw it, and then he was open, and I hit him with the hook. And I hit him right up square on the chin.
Were you surprised you got that kind of an opening?
Well, I was feinting him, and I saw that I was getting to him. When I feinted him, I saw.
There's a shot. Now Tommy's mother in the ring. I'm trying to get the hood off him so we can get a good shot here. And getting congratulations from everybody. Tommy, the road work and the training you did for this fight, it obviously paid off.
Yes, because I felt right there I was fighting. I fought a very hard first round. It was against the ropes. I threw lots of punches, and I felt that even though I had him against the ropes and I was throwing a lot of punches, my endurance came right back when I got tired.
We described him as a slugger, much the same as you, that would probably go toe-to-toe with you, but he never really did come at you that much. You were pretty much in control, weren't you?
I was too strong for him. I knew I was a little bit stronger than him, but I was too strong.
Tell him about your punches.
There goes Lou. We got to get the announcement.
Okay, Tommy, what does the win mean to you, to your career?
I've had so much pressure for this fight, and the fans, I know they love me, but yet there was still that doubt. Could we get by him and really go on our way up the ladder? And tonight we got by him, and we're going to be officially declared the champion. And I don't think there's anybody's doubt in anybody's mind who was the better fighter and who's got a future. Okay. And I'm sure I'm going to represent us as best I can.
Okay, you've got the West Virginia title, you've got the Alaska title. Where do you go from here, Tommy?
Well, that'll be up to my manager. He's got some things planned up for this fall and possibly a couple weeks rest now. I trained so hard for this fight. I don't know. You'd have to talk with him.
Okay, Tommy, thanks a lot, and our congratulations for a big win.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Steph, to Channel 12.
Okay, Tommy, of course, very excited about his win tonight, and mentioning that he has a lot of plans and might not be back to fight in the Clarksburg area for a while, so quite pleased that he was able to win this fight here before the hometown fans. We're going to be back to wrap things up at the Nathan Goff Armory right after this. We're back at the Nathan Goff Armory, and of course Tommy Thomas getting the congratulations now from a lot of the happy Clarksburg fans and those that have traveled from around the central West Virginia area. Tommy's family in the ring, his father, his brother with his back to us there, Alan Tackett, the boxing commissioner, Tommy's sister Sharon holding the trophy, and of course Tommy being hounded by the youngsters, the aspiring young fighters, trying to get autographs. Tommy very happy, of course, at this point. We're going to go back to the second round now and show you the knockdown, the first knockdown of Tommy. There it is right there. You can see him lead with that left and then a good solid right to the jaw of Rogan. And Rogan really stunned, but got up and took the standing 8 count from referee Romeo Cassi. You can see him take him over to the corner, and you get a good shot here of Lou Rogan. Stunned, but he came back okay. Let's look at it one more time. There's the left lead to set it up, and then a right to the jaw. A good solid punch from Tommy, who looked really strong for this fight, and Rogan obviously would attest to that. Now we're going into the fourth round to show you the knockout punch. Tommy getting set up, Rogan squaring up a little bit more, and it slowed up, and then all of a sudden you'll see the left come through right there, and Rogan went down really hard. Tommy just walked away, kind of shrugged his shoulders, and was pretty certain at that point that that was going to be the end. And you can see from the reaction of Lou Rogan that he's going to do no more fighting tonight. Rogan being attended to by his manager and trainer, by the managers and trainers from Tommy's corner, everybody real concerned about his condition. And of course, he was okay and was able to leave the ring under his own power. But Tommy, a happy man, receiving all kinds of congratulations. There's Ted Hamilton, his manager back when he was an amateur, who still helps Tommy. Just to Tommy's left, his father, and Tommy quite excited at this point about successfully defending his West Virginia heavyweight title. Let's take a look again in slow motion. You'll see the left, just from his hip, solidly on the right jaw of Lou Rogan, and he went straight down and was not going to come up again. So Tommy Thomas, the winner, with a knockout halfway through the 4th round. We'll be back at the Armory right after this. Okay, Gary Bowden back at the Nathan Goff Armory, where tonight Tommy Thomas has successfully defended his West Virginia heavyweight crown, winning it by a knockout in the 4th round over Lou Rogan of Columbus, Ohio. Rogan, as we mentioned many times, the former holder of the title, had it taken away just about a month ago. Said he came into tonight's fight prepared, he trained hard, and he wanted to try to get that title back, but he wasn't able to, and Tommy, of course, the better fighter here tonight. Tommy's record now 15-2. And 10 of his wins have come by knockout. 2 victories, 2 big wins here in the Clarksburg area. And Tommy, of course, quite excited that he was able to perform the way he has here before the hometown fans. An opportunity to perform for his family. And, of course, Tommy very excited about all the response from the people in the area and all the support he's gotten from the people. Okay, again, Tommy Thomas, the winner. We really don't know what his plans are from here. Tommy mentioned that he might be going back to Seattle. He might be fighting back in Alaska. He owns a state heavyweight title there. But he's obviously shown that he's the top professional fighter in West Virginia here tonight. And again, for those of you that might have joined us late, Tommy Thomas winning it with a 4th round knockout over Lou Rogan. Tommy Thomas tonight successfully defending his West Virginia heavyweight title. WVOI TV's exclusive coverage of the Tommy Thomas Lou Rogan State Heavyweight Championship fight has been brought to you by Weather Service Incorporated, home of famous Bryant energy-efficient heating and cooling systems, by West Virginia Welding, with the largest inventory of air-co gases, welding, and cutting equipment, and by Waterworld Systems, home of Kinetico, the water conditioner that runs itself.
West Virginia Welding Company of Clarksburg, where our products touch your lives in many ways every day. The Bank of Shinston, all the bank you need. And S&S Kawasaki Suzuki of Morgantown, featuring the largest stock of motorcycles in the area.
Welcome to our telecast of the Tommy Thomas Jimmy Young fight from last week at the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh. We will show you all 10 rounds of the action in its entirety. Tommy Thomas will be here in our studios to analyze the fight with me. Of course, if you don't know by now, Tommy lost it. His 3rd defeat of his professional career. He is now 24-3. Tommy, without question, a very disappointing, disheartening loss for you.
Yes, I was very disappointed and a very big letdown for me. But I can only look ahead now and look from the mistakes, to gain from the mistakes I've made and use the fight as experience and go on.
Well, that's, of course, what Jimmy Young had said after the fight. He was impressed with your style. It was probably the toughest fight he has had in his last 5 fights since he had come back into notoriety again. And he said, as far as he was concerned, experience was the key in the fight. And he gave you a lot of credit, and he said you'll be good for the future.
Well, yeah, I appreciated that. John, he did say a lot of good things about me. The man was a gentleman, after the fight and before the fight. So I just have to look for the future and look and work harder in the future and try and be a better fighter in the future.
Okay. We'll be back and we'll take a look at the first round action right after this timeout. Welcome back to our coverage of last week's Tommy Thomas Jimmy Young fight at the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh. We're going to go right to the action in round 1 and pick it up right here. Tommy obviously came out fighting, very aggressive, and it's very noticeable right here. Tom, that was your game plan going in, right?
Well, yeah, right here, when we started the fight out, everything we had talked about this guy, they said put pressure on him and see what happens, you know, when you make him, make him respect me definitely from the start, and that we wanted to do. So my plan was to make him fight me, make him try and make him respect me, and that's what we did. We were trying to do right here, make him say, hey, he's in for a fight.
Got the feeling that talking with Jimmy after the fight that, hey, he wasn't expected much of a fight. He was gonna, not so much that he was taking you lightly, but when you came out fighting him that first round, he kind of got shook up a little bit and said, hey, I've got a fight on my hands.
Yeah, he did. I think he did think a little bit less of me until the fight started, and then after we started fighting, he realized that he was in for a fight.
Seems to me Jimmy right here is just trying to fill you out. He wants to stay in jabbing, but there's no doubt he knows he's in for a fight, and he's going to have to be at his best in order to pick up the win.
Yeah, I think right away he realized that I was going to be on top of him for 10 rounds, and that I had come to fight, and that I was motivated for the fight, and wanted to win. So here he keeps, every time we break, he keeps looking at me as if he can't believe I'm keep rushing right in the first round.
Now you got to be wondering here in the first round, you're giving it your all, that you can't really get tired out too fast, because obviously you go 10 rounds fighting like you are here. It's got to be pretty it's got to be a wear and tear on your body.
Well, I know I was in good shape, John. Well, matter of fact, I may have overtrained for the fight, but I knew I was in good shape, and I thought, well, I'll come out and make him punch it out with me and make him fight with me, and see what happens. I always thought, well, I can take these early rounds and get ahead of him, and then I can always slow down a round or two, and then come back. But my strategy was to get way out in front, win the first 2 or 3 rounds big, and then if I got tired, I could always slow down. But I never did get that break I never did get a chance to take a breather. It just seemed like once we started fighting, my adrenaline got going, and I just kept fighting and going in and kept trying to hit him, and
I think right here you can see his abilities. He is very clever at escaping a lot of the punches, particularly with his movements, upstairs with the head. And here, of course, he's fighting back. I'd have to say that watching this fight, that I would score it even at this point. And of course, that's the end of round 1. We will take a break here and be back with second round action right after this. Back with action from the Tommy Thomas Jimmy Young fight. We're going to pick it up in round 2. At this point, we scored the first round either even or gave a slight advantage to Tommy. Of course, in Pennsylvania, as this fight was scored, it was a 5-point must system. So right now, it's a heck of a fight. Tommy, your feelings now going into round 2?
Well, I thought I won the first round, and I thought I'd go strong for at least 1 or 2 more rounds. And if he wasn't in condition, I thought he would start to tire, maybe after the 3rd or 4th round, because if he wasn't in as good a condition as I was, then he would tire. But I think he was in a lot better condition than my corner thought he was, and so at this point right here, I'm thinking, well, this guy's not hurting me. I haven't really scored any heavy blows, but I'm making him fight me, See, I'm keeping pressure on him. He's got to punch. Even though he wants to rest here, he wants to back up. He doesn't want to fight it out. I'm making him fight me. I got a couple good body punches in. He covered his head up, and he's trying to relax in this fight, and I'm really doing all the fighting. Here, I would come in close and throw a few punches, you see here, and then I would just lay in there and keep my hands up, and he'd come back and either hit my glove or bang me on the side of the head here, John. But I felt in the back of my mind that was a mistake, but I was so caught up in the fight, and I was in such, good condition. I thought, well, I'm going to you know, take it to this guy.
Okay, these were the circumstances, backing up a little bit, when you had him against the ropes, and here we go again. This is what I felt that he was really trying to do. He was trying to make you vulnerable towards coming in to where he could possibly connect with his left. That's where he was effective most of the night, in counter-punching.
Left hook, yeah.
Right.
Left hook with the counter. The jabs here, he really wasn't jabbing me hard at all. The hooks were the ones that were scoring. And I thought up to this point, I thought I was doing real good in the fight, even though I was getting hit with some punches to the head more than he was. I was scoring with more body punches, and I was catching a lot of his punches on my glove. The only thing I feel now that I look back at the fight, that I feel that I fought a dumb fight in the way that I had more boxing ability than he did, and I still could have been aggressive, but yet I could have paced my my energy and used my energy to a better advantage.
So you're saying that if you were backed off and not stayed in as tight through most of the fight, you would have been a little bit more effective?
Yeah, or I feel like maybe I should have went in and out. See, now after I would throw my punches, and even though, you know, I wasn't doing a whole lot of damage, but I was scoring points, where I lost the round was I stayed right in here, see, and tried to work in there, and he was getting the stealing the round, see, with flurries like that and combinations like that, and I was tired, not really tired, but I was trying to get my breath, and you know.
Yeah, okay, that's the end of round 2. We'll take another break, be back with round 3 right after this.
5 minutes, because you got to run an in break. What's that mean? Got to run our commercial to the end of the.
When you see the round ending,
only got one TV.
If you're into a thought or something. Okay, getting ready for the start of round 3. And there you see Jimmy Young again, backing into the ropes, trying to make Tom commit himself.
Well, I think here what he's trying to do is he's trying to let me punch, and he probably figures, gee, this guy's got to slow down here. And he probably thinks, I don't know whether he thinks he's ahead or not, but he thinks, well, I got to back up and let this guy punch and exert his energy. And every now and then I think he's looking for an opening. But I'm sure he doesn't want to come forward and meet me. I think he thinks his best part in the fight is the counterpunch. And John, I think that's what he's done best his whole career is counterpunch.
How did you feel you were doing at this point? Did you feel you were ahead in points?
Well, we never really talked about how I was doing in the fight until later rounds. My corner just kept telling me, you know, go after him. You know, you're really banging him up, and you know, keep the pressure on him. How do you feel? And so, you know, that's what we were trying to do. That's what I was trying to do, was kind of just, you know, keep going. I was so psyched up, you know, with the crowd and, you know, fighting on a title, you know, card like that, the heavyweight championship card. And really, the guy wasn't that hard of a puncher to where he was hurting me. And I just kept going in and going in, you know, where maybe if he had been a heavy puncher, I might have boxed more, and maybe I wouldn't have threw all the punches and wore myself out.
Do you get the feeling here that he's trying to rest up a little bit for some of the later rounds?
I got the feeling all through the fight that he was trying to win the fight on flurries. Like at the end of each round, his corner would holler, "You've got 1 minute to go, Jimmy. 1 minute to go." And that's when he would throw his flurries, usually at the end of the round, and try to steal the round.
Okay, we've got about 1 minute left in round 3. At this point, we had the first round given to Tommy. It was either his round or even. The second and third rounds should go to Young at this point. But as I said, right now, it looks like you are taking the fight to him as you have from the outset. Are you getting frustrated by the fact that maybe you weren't scoring?
Well, I was getting frustrated to the fact that I kept throwing a lot of punches to the body, but he was catching a lot of them on his arms. And I was getting in with some punches, but not the kind of punches that I wanted to hit him with. But I felt definitely that I was the stronger of us, and I was going to make this guy fight me. And I just had to believe that was the best the best strategy at this point. Now later on, I think I should see. In here, I was staying in here getting hit with punches.
You got a good right in there.
So even though he wasn't hurting me, he was, scoring. And
that's the end of round 3. We'll be back with round 4 after this timeout.
Got to get that advertising in there.
Ask him if he has come. Okay, we're back with action in the Tommy Thomas Jimmy Young fight. This is round 4. Tom, we had talked earlier. You thought that maybe you really didn't fight Jimmy Young like you should have.
Well, no, I think I did. I thought the first 3 rounds that I did good, and I thought now I should have tried some new strategy. I should have stood straight up and jabbed more and tried to get him to come forward instead of backing up and see what happened then. But at this point and all through the fight, I was so psyched up and so, convinced that he couldn't hurt me, which you see me shake my head there and, as if to say, you can't hurt me. And I think I even did tell him a couple times, I'm sure I did, that he couldn't hurt me. And I was so convinced that, that I was going to wear him out and finally get through. And see, I should have stood straight up. At times I started to, and then my corner would tell me, go in, go in. So, I don't know. I think if I had the fight over, or if I ever fought him again or an opponent similar to him, I would try and use my jab more and go in and out because I have good legs and I move in and out well, and instead of just being a flat-footed fighter and working myself in close. See, when I was in close here and I was, getting my rest and trying to pace myself, I was right in front of him and he would come back with a flurry. And I would score maybe with a couple, 3 punches, and if I would have gotten out of there and then come back in again later, in the round, it wouldn't have been so bad. But see, I would throw my punches and then stay right in there, see, and get hit.
Here he comes back with another left. Counter-punching once again as he did throughout the night. At the tail end of the 3rd round, he had scored very well and probably won the 3rd round. Here in the 4th, again, using the same tactics, clever tactics, and there another with a left. What are you thinking at this point?
Well, I'm getting discouraged, but I still keep thinking, that I'm winning the fight because of all the punches that I'm throwing to the body and on his arms and keep coming in. If I didn't think I was winning the fight, I thought at least I was close. There I threw a good uppercut, but I really never got to hit him good in the head like I had wanted to. And, it's just, he's such an awkward guy to fight, and he frustrates you because he makes you look so bad when he fights you because you can't really score and hit him, and he doesn't do a whole lot of scoring, but just enough to win the fight. And he's not a real puncher, what I mean, like a type puncher that would knock you out, unless he caught you with a really good punch. He just tries to make you look bad. Everything that you do, he tries to make you look bad. And in other words, he makes your punches, all the punches you're throwing, look useless.
Okay, that's the end of round 4. We'll be back with round 5 after this.
How am I doing, Howard?
Okay, picking up the action in round 5. Tommy, I have to admit something to you. There's no question Jimmy Young was, a lot of people thought he was towards the end of his career. There was not much left in his abilities as a boxer, but he was very impressive in this fight. He took it very seriously, and I think he's got somewhat of a future left.
Well, yeah, I don't buy that thing either about him being over the hill. Maybe his best part of his fighting career was behind him, but still, at 32 years old, 33 years old, he still can fight because Larry Holmes is the champion of the world, and he's only 32 years old. So, I don't buy that stuff because you're 30 years old or 32 years old that the fighter's over the hill. So, you know, I think, and I thought going into the fight that maybe he wasn't the fighter that he was, but I still think he's a good fighter.
At this point, it seems like he's trying to measure a little bit. You're not fighting quite toe-to-toe as you had in the past few rounds.
Well, this round here, I tried to stand up and fight him a little bit more and see, and maybe not rush in as much and see what I could do. I thought maybe I could try and pick some punches, but at this point, it was pretty much hard for me to change my style because for 4 rounds I bored in and threw punches, and it was hard for me to change my style.
Did you have problems defending the combinations, particularly the left that he constantly came in with? It seemed to me that for most of the fight you were trying to connect with the body because he obviously was skilled defensively in covering up at the head, but did you have problems once you threw the shots to the body of covering up when he came back counter punches?
Well, because when I would go to punch to his body, he would stand there and wait. He missed that punch too, and missed those 2 punches. He would wait for an opening to the head. And I never threw a whole lot of punches to the head, for one thing, because I saw guys like George Foreman and Ron Lau, Ken Norton, and guys like that couldn't hit him to the head. So I never really tried to score to the head that much. So.
He fights in flurries, obviously.
See, now he's tired here, and he's trying to...
He did it throughout the fight. He would come in with his combinations, back off, walk away to another end of the ring, resting, and then coming back some more.
Right. Yeah, I was very disappointed. I was frustrated in the fight, you know. I didn't think it was my best fight, you know, let's put it that way, and that's why I was frustrated.
We're approaching the end of round 5. At this point, we have Jimmy well ahead in the fight, and there it is, the end of round 5, and we will be back right after this.
You should say you said he had him out of hand. Huh? You should say you thought he was that way. Don't say I.
Back with round 6 of the Tommy Thomas-Jimmy Young fight from the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh. This appears to be Jimmy Young's most effective round in the fight. He connected particularly at the tail end of this round, and we will soon see where he connected and how he scored later on. Tom, your thoughts coming into round 6?
Well, I thought the fight was close. In going into this round, I couldn't see, you know, even now watching the tape, I don't see me behind, you know, by no big margin if I'm in behind.
There he's connecting with the left.
Well, he hit my glove. I had my glove. I said he didn't hit me. I didn't say he shook it off. I said I shook my head, you know, as I told you earlier. I shook my head as if to say he didn't hurt me. The judges thought, well, you know, I was hurt, but I shook my head as to say you didn't hurt me. He didn't hurt me when he hit me flush when I had my gloves down, let alone when I didn't have my gloves up.
Did you feel you still had enough strength behind your punches, or were you losing some of it?
No, I still felt like it was punching real hard. The only thing was that he was becoming harder and harder to hit to the head as the fight went on because all the body punches that I were throwing were tightening up my arms. But I still felt physically strong, you know. My arms were a little bit tight, and, you know, I was throwing a lot of punches. But I still felt physically strong, and I still felt if I could get an opening and that I could do some good. And I didn't feel I was really that far behind, really. Well, I thought I got a few punches in here and there. I scored with some punches there to the head, but it was rare that I could hit him in the head because he's such a hard fighter to hit in the head. He's a smart fighter. He's been in with some good fighters, and he's used to having pressure put on him, as I told you earlier. I felt, John, that the fight was close, and I was fighting a hard fight. I was trying to, you know, think of a strategy of somehow to get him to open up, you know, especially here in these rounds.
1 minute left in the 6th round, and here Jimmy Young comes on strong. He connects with a couple of lefts, but of course he come right back. There he came with another good cross. Were these punches here really having their effects on you?
Well, I'll tell you, more than anything, I wasn't in trouble. I was tired, and
many people said, you know, there you're really starting to feel the punches, but a lot of people thought you might go down in this round. But here you go,
see,
coming back again.
Yeah, no, there was no danger of going down. I felt a couple of those punches to the head, and then one good body punch hit me with, I felt underneath. But I didn't feel I was in danger of getting knocked out, you know.
Okay, here's a slow motion replay of the tail end of round 6, Jimmy Young's most effective round, coming in with a number of combinations, landing a right here. Tommy, of course, waving him in. He still wants him to come in and fight toe-to-toe, but another shot to the body, and we'll be back with round 7 after this.
Sean, he went to punch to my body.
Back with round 7 of the Tommy Thomas Jimmy Young fight. At this point, we've got 5 rounds for Jimmy Young, 1 round for Tommy. 7th round, Tom, what were your cornermen telling you?
I don't agree with you on 5 rounds for Jimmy Young and 1 round for me. I don't agree on that. Even after, if you know, people said that I was hurt in that round, I look at all the punches I came out and threw right after that round was over. So, you know, I don't think I was a hot maybe. I think if he did win the judge's eye, it was with his flourish to the head, and maybe he deserved a decision with that. But I don't feel, John, that I was behind 5-2 or 5-1. I thought it was more like a 3-2 or something like that. As you see, you know, he was scoring with the most effective head punches, but I was getting in a lot of punches on the ribs and to the side of the body. And
well, what kind of indication did you get at this point from your cornerman, from Norm Lockwood, your manager, as far as how you were doing in the fight?
Well, the thing that my corner kept telling me was, take the fight to him, and you know, we'll wear the guy down, and that you're durable and he can't knock you out. They kept telling me, you know, that he can't knock me out, and that, you know, make him respect you, make him back up. Well, I was doing that, but, you know, I had to question whether or not they were right. But, you know, with the night of the fight, all the heat of the moment, you know, of course, I'm a fighter. I wanted to fight, and I've always been a, you know, fighter that comes to fight. I never thought really of any other strategy. Now that I watched the fight, I realized that I had more boxing ability than I used, you know, and of course I landed some good body punches here. And
how did you feel in this round now? Because
well,
the previous round you took a couple of good shots. So how were you feeling the effects of the fight at this point?
The most thing that affected me in the fight, really and truthfully, the punches never hurt me. As you see here, he hit me with the right hand, but it never hurt me. As far as he never staggered me, never slowed me down. He never kept me off of him. He never hit me to the point where I thought, oh God, I can't go into this guy anymore because he's tearing me up. It was where he would hit me and I would say, well, okay, I got to get my punches in now. It wasn't the point where I thought, gee whiz, you know, this guy's killing me. He was hitting me, but I never really thought nothing of his punches. And as I look at the film now, maybe that was a mistake. But I've always been able to take a good punch. And I've always been able to put pressure on a fighter. But I never, as I look at the fight now, I do think that I probably lost the fight as far as the point system goes because I got hit to the head more. But I should have fought maybe a different strategy in this fight. And if I would get another chance to fight Jimmy Young, I'd use a different.
That's the end of round 7. We'll be back in a moment.
Get me all wound up now. Yep.
Round 8 at the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh. Tommy once again coming in the fight aggressively. Jimmy Young apparently at this point trying to rest up a little bit, of course, trying to use his left hand as much as possible.
Well, I think we've been fighting a pretty good pace here. I mean, even for as much as he's been loafing in the fight, he's still been having to fight me. And I've been a constant target in front of him to make him punch him. There I got a good right to the body.
That was probably a big plus. I think a lot of the crowd that was there were surprised because from round 1 on, neither of you guys really let up. And I think that says a lot for the kind of condition that both of you were in for this fight.
Yeah, I was really up for the fight. Of course, I'd like to have a few more weeks to train for this fight. And if we ever have a rematch, if possible, I'd like to have 8 weeks instead of 4.5 weeks to get ready for the fight. And, you know, but here I realize, you know, that I've got to, you know, that the fight's close and that, you know, and I've been throwing a lot of punches and, you know, even though he couldn't punch very hard, I respected him as a fighter. I knew he was a good fighter, and I knew he couldn't really punch hard, but I kept thinking, you know, that the guy was a good fighter. In the back of my mind, I thought, this guy's smart, and I kept saying, if I make a mistake, he's going to capitalize on it.
I've got to ask you, when you were going in with the body shots, did you feel that you were scoring?
Well, a lot of times yes, and a lot of times no. See, right here, he caught a lot of these on his elbows. But then I came back to the head. I caught him in the head. I think, John, a lot of punches to the body I was scoring, and a lot of them I wasn't. But whenever I would punch him to the arms, I was trying to hit him on the biceps and right in the joints of his elbows, and maybe where he would take a lot of his snap away. I don't know if it did or not, but I know in the past there's been a lot of fights won by punching to the arms. Marcian used to do that.
What's your strategy at this point?
Well, I really can't remember for sure, but I know that, you know, the whole night went so fast. I have to say that my strategy going into this fight was to be in great shape and thinking that age and my stamina would help a lot in the fight, plus my style. I thought I had a style maybe that would give him trouble, which I think I had a style that gave him a lot of trouble.
Did you have any indication now here in the 8th round of whether or not you were winning the fight?
Well, I didn't know for sure. I shook my head there, not that I was hurt. I shook my head and said to him, you don't have anything. I said, you know, in other words, you don't have any punch. And here I hit him with a good body shot. You see him double down. Some of my body punches would get in and score good, and some of them wouldn't.
Okay, we're approaching the end of round 8, and we'll be back in a moment. Those rounds go pretty fast, don't they?
Yeah.
Ready to pick up action in round 9. Again, we should point out the fight is being scored on a 5-point must system. It's being judged by 3 people. The referee, which was Andy Kid DiPaolo. Rudy Ortega was another judge. Of course, he was the referee in the Holmes title fight, and 1 other. And at this point, they have Jimmy ahead. 9th round, Tom, you have to feel at this point that you were behind. What did your cornermen tell you coming into the 9th round? Did they keep telling you to be aggressive and trying to land?
You know, John, I can't remember exactly what they told me, but there wasn't a whole lot. See, he went to throw a right hand there, and I jabbed him, and he couldn't get in.
That's the 2nd time he's done that. He's come in trying to connect, and yet has walked away.
Well, he couldn't do any good, and he saw that I was waiting for him. I really can't remember a lot of exactly what happened, what my thoughts were exactly, and what was being said to me. I myself knew that I was in a fight, and I knew that, you know, from round 1 on that you know, if I was winning the fight, I wasn't walking away with the fight. And I knew that I was going to have to fight every round of the fight. There he hit me, and I shook my head and said no, that he didn't hurt me, and the referees or the judges maybe felt that I was shaking my head to clear cobwebs. But I do that. I don't know if a lot of people here have seen my fights. If I get hit, I'll shake my head, you know, as if to say, you know, that I'm not hurt. And I don't know whether they felt that I was doing that, whether I was hurt or what. I was frustrated a lot in the fight because of his style and his ability, see here, to slip punches. And that had a lot to do with it, John, with me getting frustrated. But
what about the way he was feeling at this point? Now, obviously, you're feeling some of his punches. Was he losing a little bit behind him in these later rounds?
I don't know. He always, I know he was getting tired. I could tell by the way he was breathing. He was breathing hard. And, well, my corner did say that. They said he's tiring out. You're tiring him out. Of course, I know I had to tire any human being would have tired out in a fight like this, you know, because I myself would have moments there where I would get sluggish and then I would come back. And I trained as hard as I possibly could for the amount of time we had. Even
and there he goes again.
Yeah, but see, he would walk away and then try and come back and maybe think that, you know, he would catch me running in with my hands down, or, you know, something like it. And then he was stalling too, because see, I was constantly coming in, and I guess he felt, well, I got to get some breathing room. Here I missed a punch. Yeah, here I missed a punch. I raised my hand, you know, the crowd hollered. I raised my hand as if to say, you know, yeah, I'm sorry. Or, you know. But
I think at that point there, that was sort of noticeable about how Young was feeling the effects, because you were open, you had raised your hand. He could have easily come in and tried to connect, but I think at this point it's obvious that both of you are starting to tire somewhat, well, yet never giving up.
No, he wouldn't give up, and he fought. See the bell ring, and he.
Good bell ring.
Tenth and final round coming up here from the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh. Tommy Thomas against Jimmy Young. Tom, this was probably your second most effective round in the fight. I think at this point you'd have to agree that you knew you would have to score. You would have to be very aggressive if you were going to pick up any points in this round.
There I got a hook in. I'm looking for an opening. I'm looking for something that'll really turn the fight around. Maybe even get him to drop his hands and catch him on the chin, but I don't know if that's possible. In the back of my mind, I was thinking, I don't know if he's going to do that or not, but I'm thinking I want to do something big in this round, and if not do something real big, my corner told me to go out and fight all out for the round and try and, you know, win the round. So I don't know what they were thinking, whether they thought I was behind or what. I thought, you know, if I could, I wanted to really try and really rock him. There I scored some good punches, but he come back with some good punches. But he's tired. I'm tired too. We're both real tired in this fight, this round. I mean, all through the fight we've been fighting a hard fight for heavyweights.
Came up with a good counter there on the left.
I wanted to catch him, like I said, John. I wanted to catch him with a good punch on the jaw, and it would have made a difference, you know. Maybe here he's tired and I push him away.
Did you feel honestly that you would have to knock him out in this round in order to win?
I never really thought about it. The only thing I could think of was to win the round. Going into the round, my corner says, you got to win this round big. We don't know how they're scoring this, and this may be the deciding round. Go out and win this round big. And I just acknowledged it, you know, and went out, and never thinking whether I was behind or not. At that point, what they said was the only thing I could relate to that made any sense.
Doing a little bit of talking there.
Well, he hit me, and I told him he didn't have anything.
Came across with the right there.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to I think he knows he's ahead at this point. He's trying to rest somewhat, but he doesn't want to get careless.
Yeah. And I'll shake my head, see, it's not to mean that I'm hurt, but as if to say, you know, you didn't hurt me, see. But I can see why, you know, the guy's had success in his future.
I'm going to crank up one of my personal favorites.
He's counter-punching with fighters and guys having trouble hitting him, but he impressed me with that, but that was all he really had. I feel if I fight him again, fight him a different way, I wouldn't lay inside and let him counter-punch me. I'd go in and out and use that, you know, to beat him.
Well, no one knows for sure whether there will be a rematch, but of course I talked with Jimmy afterwards, and he said he would be glad to fight you again.
Well,
when and where and for what, I don't know. But here, the end of the fight, both of you are really going through a war, and of course both of you guys showing tremendous respect for each other. And
I don't know. I think here, John, he was. I don't think he knew. You know, of course, it's hard to tell whether or not you're in a fight like this. It's hard to tell how the judges are scoring it. I don't think he knew for sure whether or not he won it or not either. His trainer just walked over to me and said, "Hey, you fought a heck of a good fight. You're a heck of a fighter." And here, I thought, you know, I'd
doing a little showboating.
Did a little showboating. It was a, you know.
You were feeling good. You were feeling good after the fight. Not only the fact that you had went 10 rounds with one of the top heavyweights, but you had told me immediately afterward that you honestly thought that you might have been ahead.
Well, I didn't know how the judges scored the fight. I thought there was always, you know, here I'm waiting and we're all waiting. He is too, and I remember when they announced the decision, he was a little bit of shock too. And so, you know, and I asked my corner, I said, did we win the fight? And they said, in our eyes, I think we won the fight, but I don't know how they scored the fight, you know. So everybody's hollering up to me, you know, you did it, Tommy, you did it, and, you know, all of my friends that were ringside. And, of course, you know.
Excuse me. So you're...
You know.
Here's the decision now. Let's listen to it. There was a decision, Jimmy Young winning in a unanimous decision on all 3 cards in a 10-round fight over Jimmy Young. Tom, when you heard that final decision, you were almost speechless, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was really, I didn't, you know, I hadn't seen the film. I didn't know, just by the memory of how hard I fought and everything and how hard I tried, you know, I was down, you know, let down. And, you know, the build-up for the fight and everything. Yeah, I was down.
The obvious question, it had been asked so many times immediately afterwards, where do you go from here?
Well, at this point, I don't have anything planned, you know, and nothing definite. I've been offered a couple fights right away, one in California and one in Pittsburgh in December now. But really, I have to rest up now. And I'm going to study this film and see what I did wrong and how I fought the fight wrong and try and improve myself as a fighter and, you know, do better in the future. I knew I was in with a good fighter and a guy that will make you look bad. And, you know, I missed a lot of punches and that took a lot out of me. So I just got to try and do better and be a better fighter. I'm still young. I can't lay down and quit now. You know, I still... I'm young and I'm in good health, and you know, I want to be successful and just keep going.
Tommy Thomas, of course, we had just seen the 10 full rounds of his fight with Jimmy Young last week at the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh. Jimmy Young winning in a unanimous decision. Before we actually get into the scoring, Tom, I'd like to talk a little bit about the whole event, the whole extravaganza that took place in Pittsburgh. It was a night to be remembered, the first heavyweight title fight to be held in the city of Pittsburgh in 30 years, and it was more than a fight. There were, of course, the title fight and 3 main heavyweight undercards, of which you were the first, but it was more than that. It was a spectacle. People from all across the country were there. ABC was there to televise the fight. Over 300 people from across the globe, media representatives covering it. And I'll tell you, Don King really knows how to promote something, and he's got to be one of the leading sports promoters in the country. Your impressions, just the fact that you were there, the fact that you were a part of all that.
Well, yeah, it was good. It was a good feeling, John, to be a part of all that. I know what you're talking about, but to me, it was a chance of a lifetime. I was going to the fight not thinking, gee, what a great promoter I was fighting for, not thinking what a great card I was fighting on, as much as, you know, thinking, you know, I was honored to be on the card, but I was thinking here was my chance to cash in on all my hard work as a fighter and to make it all in one night. You know, here I am coming into the fight, and I haven't lost in 13 or 14 fights. Since '78, I haven't lost a fight. And here was my chance to get a title shot. Winning this fight would have given me a shot at the title, a chance for $250,000, and that was what I was thinking about. I was honored to be on the card, and it was a lot of excitement. And just walking around the hotel was enough, and seeing Don King and guys like that, and Howard Cosell, and people like that, it was it was great. But I thought this was my chance of a lifetime.
To reassure some of the listeners, we had talked a little bit earlier about what effect the loss had on the people that put the fight on, about Don King, about the Civic Arena Corporation. You had told me that they were very pleased with your performance and that you would have better things in store in the future.
Well, I don't think that my career is over as a fighter. I don't think that losing the fight to Jimmy Young or having a bad performance that night was, going to boost me up. It did show that I had guts, and I had a lot of determination, and it showed that. And Don King, I talked to Don King after the fight, and his the matchmaker that works for him full time, and they said they were impressed with the fact that I fought a real hard fight, and even though I was fighting a good fighter, that I stayed right in there, and I never gave up. Even at the 10th round, I was still fighting, for all I was worth. They were impressed. They were impressed with the fact that so many people from West Virginia came to the fight, and the
crowd was certainly on your side. There's no question about that.
And plus, they were impressed with the fact that while I was there, I made a great deal of friends, and I had a great deal of friends around the area that all came out to support me. They were impressed with that, plus the write-ups we had gotten, the Shinston newspaper, the Clarksburg newspaper, and every newspaper around this area plugged the fight. We're pulling for Tommy. Good luck, Tommy, and stuff like that. He said, Tommy, your career is not over. As far as I'm concerned, as long as I'm a promoter, you'll be able to fight for me. And this is not the end as far as we're concerned. And they asked me, what I felt, and I felt, no, definitely, I wasn't going to give up because I had lost to Jimmy Young, and I knew that I was fighting a good fighter. So now, like I said earlier, I told you, I have to go back to the drawing board or back to the gym and look at the films and talk to my trainers, my corner people that were with me, see what we could have done different in the fight, and try and make myself a better fighter over this loss. And I know that I'll still be just as determined as I was, and I'm not hurt physically. It's not going to hamper me physically, but come off this fight now and go on to be a better fighter. And I still have a chance to go on. I've got 3 losses on my record, and I don't feel that with 3 losses that I'm over the hill. At 27 years old, I still have a chance to come back and still pull it off.
Well, that's what Jimmy Young had said after the fight. He had said, hey, 3 losses is nothing. You've won something like, 15 in a row prior to the Young fight. Jimmy Young's impressions, as we had said earlier, this was his 5th victory in a row after he had made the comeback. And without a doubt, he had said it was the toughest fight that he had had since he had come back. He had said that you were probably the strongest puncher he had faced since he had come back. And the only thing that he could tell you was that you were a fighter of the future and that you just needed a little bit more experience. Now, the question is, how do you get the needed experience to be able to compete again with other ranked fighters? Obviously, it would seem to me you would have to keep fighting ranked fighters, guys that are right around the same rating as you in order to get further along.
Well, what he meant by experience was he had the fighting experience, is what you're just talking about. He'd been in there in the ring with big name fighters, and this was my first chance with a big name fighter. To him, it was like a sparring session. To me, it was like a chance of a lifetime and a fight of my life, like a happening. To him, it was like just going to the gym for a sparring session. I mean, not so much that, I mean, he took me lightly, but, you know, this is something that he has done several times. And me, this was something that, you know, this was something that only comes along. This is the biggest thing to happen in my boxing career. So I was nervous, not so much nervous to where notably nervous, but I mean anxious, and, you know, that way. I feel like Jimmy Young, too, that I'm going to be a fighter of the future, but I don't feel that I need a whole lot of fights to get ready for it, you know, my future. I feel that my future is now, and I feel that I'll be fighting long after, you know, hopefully long after he's retired, and, you know, I'll still be doing good, but I just have to pick myself up and keep going.
Well, that's the attitude to have. Of course, you know, you think of Jimmy Young, he's 33 years old, and most people would say, hey, he can only have a year, 2 years down the road before he's going to have to call it quits. But I think if this fight proved anything, it shows that a guy like Jimmy Young, being 33 years old, with the experience that he's had in the ring, the beatings that he's taken in the ring, to come back like he has after that period of time where he was relatively inactive, to win 5 fights in a row and still be sharp as he was against you, I think that's a sign of, as long as a fighter keeps in shape, you know, and keeps dedicated to the game, hey, by the time you're 32, 33 years old, you can still have it.
Well, yeah,
and you're still a young kid yet.
Well, yeah, as far as heavyweights go, heavyweights don't mature until later in life, and I'm still learning. You know, I learned a lot from this fight and this experience. You know, the whole deal. I learned a lot from it. I feel my fighting is in the future. As far as, you know, I feel like you say I'm young, as you know, I have a lot of good years left in that sense. But I wanted to win the fight. Like I said earlier, I keep harping about that. But I wanted to win the fight. I thought the fight was closer than what the judges thought. Although after watching the film, I do agree that with the judge's decision, I did get outscored and outpointed. But you know, I feel that the fight was closer than what it was, and I feel that if I get a chance for a rematch next time, I'll do a lot better. Or if my next time I get a fight with a rated fighter, I'll do better.
Quickly, let's get to one last thing. Your timetable from here. I know you want to take at least the rest of the year off before you fight again. You're going to go back in training probably within the next couple of weeks or month. You mentioned about 2 fights possibly next year, one in California, I believe you had told me. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, Don King has told my manager, and he told me after the fight that definitely that he wanted to, that he was impressed with my fighting ability, and he said that he wanted to have me fight for him again. He didn't say when or who or whom, but he did say, you know, that he was not discouraged or disappointed by me at all, even though I lost the fight. It was a good fight. So I don't know whether I'll fight the rest of this year or not. I would like to fight in December, but I don't know for sure. So I have to, like I say, the rest of this week I'll relax and then see where I'm at next week. But definitely go back and try and fight next time, fight a smarter fight and do better.
Okay, Tom, I appreciate you being with us, and of course, good luck, as always, in the future. And thank you for joining us for the replay of the Tommy Thomas-Jimmy Young fight from the Civic Arena.
This has been a WBOI TV sports presentation brought to you by West Virginia Welding Company of Clarksburg, where our products touch your lives in many ways every day. The Bank of Shinston, all the bank you need. And S&S Kawasaki Suzuki of Morgantown, featuring the largest stock of motorcycles in the area.
Always have been able to take a good punch.
Well, this is a great opportunity for you. You know, we're coming off last week all upsets. The favorites were getting upset by the underdogs walking off the boardwalk. What do you think is going to happen this weekend?
Well, maybe there'll be another big upset. That's what I'm trying for. I've worked hard to get this shot, traveled all over the world to get a fight like this. It's a big opportunity for me. It's a chance of a lifetime, and I gotta, I can't let it get by.
All right. One quick question. What's your prediction?
Well, I told everybody earlier, I don't make predictions about fights other than I will come here to fight.
Michael, you found a punch from someplace. You're knocking everybody out. What's happened?
Well, I wish you wouldn't disclose that information right now, Doctor. And as far as my punching is concerned, I really have no logical answer for it. Just maturity and confidence and cultivating my tools, and along with everything else is probably a great cause of it all. I'm defending my North American belt, which is very significant in my career right now, and I have to be up for these type of fights, and I took it.
In other words, you don't take any of these fighters cheap.
Oh, you can't, because at this position I'm in at number 2 in the world, number 3 in the other division. You can't afford to take anybody lightly, because I end up at the bottom of the barrel again trying to fight back to the top, and it's just nonsense to jeopardize myself like that.
And your prediction?
Well, victorious.
And there is Michael Dokes. He goes 6'3", a 2-inch height advantage over the 6'1" Tommy Franco Thomas, who, because of his likeness to Franco Harris of the Pittsburgh Steelers, nicknamed Franco. He's out of Fairmount, West Virginia, 27 years old, born in Clarksburg, West Virginia. Michael Dokes ranked 2nd by the WBC, 3rd by the WBA, and number 3 by Ring Magazine. Dokes in the white and Thomas in the black trunks. Michael Dokes, 24 years old, born in Akron, Ohio, now living in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Record of 24-0, 1 draw, and 13 knockouts. Oh, left hand by Dokes, getting right in on Thomas. Larry Holmes a moment ago predicting that Thomas would not last past the 3rd round.
Thomas is tough, but Michael Dokes is very fast. You saw the desire that Thomas has. He ran across the ring, and Dokes put a basketball move on him, and he went right by him. But he's no question steamed up for this fight. Whether he can counter the speed of Michael Dokes, I don't know. Michael Dokes is very, very fast with his hands, and he's found a punch in the last 4 or 5 fights. He's begun really pulverizing his opponents.
He has come up with 4 first-round knockouts. Franco Thomas, 24-3, 15 by knockout, and comes off a loss to Jimmy Young last November, a close 10-round decision in Pittsburgh. Jimmy Young is the common opponent between the two. Dokes winning by decision over Young, and Thomas losing by decision.
It's a tough fight with Young. Nobody has an easy fight with Young. Jimmy Young is one of those guys that'll go the whole limit, and you don't know who won when he's over with, but he's a tough journeyman heavyweight.
Franco Thomas, a Lebanese-American. One-time policeman, one-time truck driver, taking the left hand from Dokes.
Dokes very fast in combination. You're just amazed that a heavyweight can punch that fast. He has not been very effective with that punch this first round. Thomas able to cover up. He's been hitting gloves and arms. He has not been hitting much.
And less than a minute left in this first round. Michael Dokes' victories include decisions over George Chaplin, Randy Cobb, and Jimmy Young. Back in April of '80 against Ozzy Ocasio. Then in a return bout, knocked out Ocasio in the first round.
Good stiff punches by Michael Dokes. Even when he misses, he looks impressive. Franco Thomas right in front of him and doing some of the pressuring. Good jab. I think he got a thumb in that left eye. He certainly blinked it enough. The day for thumbs here.
We saw a couple of thumbs effectively landed in earlier bouts. And we are final seconds. First round.
With a tree, you plant a little...
And he looked like he tired and slowed down. It's only the second round.
And this is round 3. Marv Albert, Ferdy Pacheco from Atlantic City, New Jersey. A big day of boxing once again here on NBC Sports.
There's no question that Dokes with a superior reach is out punching at the distance is out punching Franco. Franco's got to come in like he is there, and once he's in, he's got to punch. What's happening to him is inside. Dokes is punching very hard.
Straight left, landed by Dokes. Oh, right hand.
And Franco shakes his head.
Earlier in his career, Michael Dokes was not noted for his punching power, but the feather punching has certainly turned around. He has been landing heavy leather the last 8 months to a year.
The way he looks now, if he doesn't get an early knockout, the later rounds are going to be very interesting. Because Franco is in very good shape, and he's used to this ballroom brawling kind of final rounds. Dokes apparently breathing through his mouth. I don't understand this in certain fights.
Michael Dokes had a brilliant amateur career, 147 wins, 7 losses, won a host of titles, including the National AAU Heavyweight Championship in 1975, silver medal at the Pan Am Games, 75, National Golden Gloves title.
Franco eating an awful lot of strong jabs.
Come on. Looking to measure and then unload that right, which is cocked.
Well, it's landed often enough.
Michael Dokes, who was delighted to be the main event fighter for a change, 5 of his last 6 bouts on the undercard, 3 times the prelim to the heavyweight champion, Larry Holmes.
Dokes not looking good in the corners when he gets in there on the defense. Not looking good.
If your morning shave has turned into a nightmare, gotcha. Wake up to the exclusive twin-action Norelco Rotatract razor. Inside 3 floating heads, twin-action grips and raises hair up, then razors hair off, closer than ever. For twin blade closeness without a nick or cut, the twin-action Norelco Rotatract razor, cord or rechargeable. For a shave that's twin blade close, but no gotcha.
Well, you see the height advantage and reach advantage of Michael Dokes against Tommy Franco Thomas. But Dokes has not looked impressive, although he is the leader on our scorecard. There's a look at the distance between the 2 fighters. Dokes looks to be out of shape.
Your head, though. He does. He didn't have much time to take this fight because his Leon Spinks, his stablemate, dropped out. He had 15 days of training, but he just doesn't look that good.
I wonder if he took this bout seriously.
If he didn't, he's in for a long, long afternoon. And it is the Ides of March on NBC.
This is round 4. Can I write that down for you?
I think a guy named William wrote it better than you're not.
Now Dokes snapping the jab. How did Franco Thomas begin his boxing career? Well, one night, while in attendance at an amateur event, he was pulled out of the audience to fill in borrowed trunks, wearing tennis shoes, knocked out his rival. Said after that he knew just what he wanted to do. And he went on to a successful amateur career, then a professional career that has produced 24 wins and 27 fights. Oh, left hand by Dokes.
This is the Michael Dokes we should have seen first round on. He's caught him in the middle of the ring, and it's his. It's his fight in the middle of the ring. As long as he goes to the ropes, Franco's going to maul and push him, make him look bad.
Franco slapping away at Dokes with the left hand. Well, Larry Holmes said it would not get past round 3. This is round 4 as we approach the halfway mark of the 4th round.
In this fight, Dokes is fighting much better because he's fighting in the middle of the ring. useless and disinterested.
Thomas tried to tee off, but could not connect. Earlier we saw Arthur McCanty conducting his boxing clinic.
Well, I think Zach Clayton must have been watching it because he's done everything that Arthur was talking about. He's circling away from the fighters. He's leaving them alone.
Left hand by Dokes.
Dokes very effective this round.
As we mentioned earlier, Clayton, the type of referee who does not believe in making much contact, does it by verbalizing, takes charge by talking to the boxers.
Dokes circling away, using the ring like he should, able to pop that jab almost at will, and every once in a while back with a right hand. Dokes fights pretty dangerously defensively. I would wonder what he could get away with doing that with Holmes.
And we're coming to the conclusion of this fourth round. This is scheduled for 12.
If you could only appreciate what you put your car through. Road crime, bad weather, extremes in temperature. Give your car a break. Go to your Napa Auto Parts store or to participating garages and stations during Napa Spring Car Care Days and keep your car in shape for the months ahead. Because out on the streets, things can be pretty tough. For your domestic or import car, look for this sign of spring.
This is right out of the files of Green Scipio, Hampshire Parker of a week ago. After the bell. This is all action after the bell. Seconds after the bell. A combination thrown by Dokes, who was unhappy because Thomas had hit him right after the bell sounded.
We ought to amass all those clips of hitting after the bell and have a full 10-round fight by the time March is over with.
The Ides of March.
Yes, the Ides of March.
Franco Thomas, 27 years old, out of West Virginia. Moving on to round number 5 against Michael Dokes.
Losing every round, but keeping the fight competitive. It's curious that he's losing the fight, but he is making the fight in that he's coming toward him. He's the aggressor. He just landed 2 good hooks, 3, 4.
And the crowd has turned. They are rooting for Thomas. They did not like that combination thrown late after the bell. Here's Dokes up on his toes and snapping the jab.
And he put his hand right up there. He didn't like to get hit there.
Oh, left hook by Dokes, and Thomas is down. Thomas says he's all right. Dokes anxious to spring out of the corner. Here he comes.